Hello again everyone, welcome to the week 11 lecture for EMS207 2024-30 session. So there's a bit on the agenda as usual. We will probably skip over the digital technologies in the syllabus component because I've covered that quite a lot in the previous weeks, and it does feature prominently in the tutorials as well. What I do want to focus on though are the Web 2.0 tools. We'll also be doing some work on this in tutorials, but it will be an overview of how some of these tools work. Essentially I'll bring them up on screen and show you a bit of key information, a bit of problem solving, some of the options available, but it will just be an introduction. Hopefully you'll be able to spend some time playing around with them and planning how they might be used in your assessment if you choose to use them. We'll talk briefly about STEM initiatives and resources. STEM, of course, referring to science, technology, engineering and mathematics. We'll have a think about higher order thinking and Bloom's taxonomy because that is a feature of the second assessment task. And that's probably a recap because I did speak about that earlier on in the semester as well. And then we'll, I guess, tie things together with a bit of a reflection on PCK and TPCK, which are very similar concepts really, in my mind. So let's get into it. Now, I feel like I've been through the technology syllabus and digital technologies components quite consistently. So I'll leave those there for you if you'd like to use them in the resource itself, but it's been covered multiple times, so I think we've probably overdone the spiral curriculum at this stage. So we'll move on to something new and useful for your next assessment. What I want to get into are some Web 2.0 tools. This is not an exhaustive list. I've picked some of the more useful ones that I'll show you how to engage with and interact with. They're all free or freemium, so you should be able to use just the most basic versions, the free versions for your work in EMS207 this semester. I'm particularly interested in the Google Suite because there are some really nice features inherent within that I think you'll be able to make some use of for the digital learning resource. So the links are all on the PowerPoint, but I will of course be doing these on via my web browser. So the first thing I'd like to take you through is Google Drive. You have probably used it at some point in the first half of the semester because the Google Docs feature works really nicely for collaboration. So if you sign up, you get 15 gigabytes for free, which will be plenty for an assessment or any work that you're likely to be doing here. I use it for pretty much everything I do at work, so I've bought an extended version. So what you can do is open up a new file like I've done here. Everything operates with the right-click feature. Unless you add new documents and share components and things like that. Of course, we've probably been through some of this before, but I thought I'd show you some of the more interesting features. Of course, things like Google Slides and Google Sheets can function really nicely for some of that data handling and communication stuff. So it's a really interesting replacement for something like, let's say something like Excel. Because it's interactive, it can be shared. So you can imagine creating a QR code links with this sort of thing to enable students to, I guess, more actively participate and share information. So let's go into Google Docs briefly, because there is a really nice inclusion feature in here that I'd like to point to. I'll just call this test document. So if you do want to share with students, you can right-click share. You just hit the share button, and you'll have the option to change it from restricted down here to anyone with the link, and I would change it to whatever suits you, probably editor if you want students to upload something in groups or something like that, and then you can just copy that link and paste that wherever you like in your worksheets or digital learning resources or things like that. So that will allow people to come in without logging on to check things out. You could of course put tables and all sorts of cool things in here if you wish to do so. I do want to point to something that I find really helpful here. So of course there are the core features that you'll see around the joint with text formatting and things like that. None of that's particularly new, although I have wanted to explore the add-ons for a while. I haven't gotten to it. But one that I find particularly useful is voice typing. So there's probably an option for inclusivity here if you want to do it. But if you type in voice typing, hopefully this will work. Change it to whatever your accent is. Mine is not Afrikaans, it is English, and it should be Australian right at the top. So pick your accent basically, and it will appear here. And if you hit this button, it will turn orange and basically transcribe exactly what you're saying. So I think this is a cool feature. You could use it in your own work, perhaps as a teacher, taking some notes or doing some drafts of comments. But I'll give you an example. allow, yes. Hello, full stop. My name is James Dean, comma, and I am a very happy fellow, full stop. So it's not actually, I mean, it didn't get my name correctly, but I wouldn't expect it to, but it's pretty accurate. So I actually think this is quite a useful feature. And of course, you can actually embed these into sites as well. So if you click, right click, edit, view, I haven't done this in a little while. You can actually go to, I think it's page setup. Oh no, we're not going to go pageless. No, I don't want to do that. But there isn't an option to actually embed these. I might just pause and check it out. Okay, I've just fiddled around with it a little bit. So if you go File, Share, Publish to Web, you actually have the option to grab a link or embed it. And if you click that Publish button, it will give you a bit of code that you can actually paste in as an iframe into a website if you wish to do that, although that removes the interactive component to it. So it's something to think about if you want to do it that way. Some other really interesting features in the Google Suite are, of course, Google Forms. If you want to create some form of assessment, you can create quizzes or forms. They're all pretty straightforward. I mean, you might have seen us do them with the Harvard response. You know, they're fairly basic, but if you scroll down here, you can click the plus icon. So you can add questions, add images. You can add your own images. You can add your own videos through YouTube or something like that. And change titles and change some of the colouring. It's quite basic work, but you know, it will cover pretty much all you need as a teacher. And the options you have will be, of course, multiple choice, paragraphing components. You can have drop-down menus and file uploads as well. So if you want them to draw something and share it, there's a nice option for that, and it'll sort of sit quite nicely within your Google Suite. So I think this is quite a useful tool. You know, we can insert a video, or you can paste a YouTube link in. So you could perhaps create your own video that explains the quiz, for example. This is a nice one, but there are other ones as well. Google Slides is quite interesting. Google Jamboards and Google Sites are quite useful as well. I might actually bring Google Slides up here. Google Jamboard's an interesting kind of collaborative feature. So I think this probably has potential for brainstorming and those sorts of things. So if I kind of change this to be called, I don't know, test again, not very exciting. You can share this and change it to anyone with a link. So you've got that pasteable link ready to go. And you can, you know, do things like set the background, add your own image, personalize it how you see fit. But they can come in and sort of draw, delete things, add pictures if they want to do that. I guess add text. So it's really good for brainstorming kind of work there as well. Very simple resource for editing. I don't think it has the same sharing features though and publishing features. You can download it as a PDF, which is quite nice for data. But this could be a nice little complement to collect some formative diagnostic data, or it maybe even contribute to summative if it's nicely framed. So I do think the Jamboard's pretty cool. The Google Sites actually could be a really nice option as well for creating the hub for your creating the hub for your particular digital learning resource, I should say. And you can see a number of students have shared them with me over the years, and they go pretty well. So I won't edit any of my old ones here. I might actually, I might just create a new one. Let's just create a blank site, and I'll just sort of show you how they can operate. So essentially, you can name your site, probably some version of EMS207 with your name and student number. You can create from templates as well, which is, I think, probably worth doing, but I won't go into it right now. You can create content blocks and embed things as well. The embed feature is really, really helpful because it prevents it from being link heavy and can actually allow images and videos to be presented directly as well, which is really helpful. So yeah, let's have a look at how this embed feature works. So over here we have YouTube. Now, I've just got a random video. Some videos will be useful, some won't be, so you will need to consider how you use them. This one in particular just provides a whole heap of information, so think about in practice. You'll still have to think about what questions you'll ask, whether you'll have particular pause points in the video, so you shouldn't just create a resource to dump information, but you know, the pedagogical stuff we've covered. You can, of course, download these and clip them if you want to as well. If you log in with Google, you will also have the create option. So if you create your own video, maybe on a webcam or through your phone or something, or whatever works for you, you can actually go to create and upload a video. And if you choose to upload a video, you can drop and drag it in, and you will have the option to make it unlisted. That's my advice. If you make it unlisted, that means anywhere you put the link will show the video, but it won't be available for free searching or anything like that, so that people on the internet won't just be able to appear and add comments and things like that. So unlisted is where you go if you choose to include your own video, your own personal video, and that could be a really nice touch because it is rewarded in the rubric for doing that. But returning back to this, if I want to share this, I could just include the link. Okay, so I could grab the share button and just grab that link, copy that, off I go. You can actually change where it starts as well if you'd like to. Start at a specific section of the video. You can be detailed there, and it will actually incorporate that into the link. But what we might do is hit the embed option. So if you hit embed, it will actually allow you to grab that and paste that into the code in the back of the website or whatever. So if we just grab this one here, you can change the width of the iframe, so you can change the height ratio, but we'll keep that the same. Control C, and we'll take it up to our website and just hit embed. So grab our embed code and paste it straight in, no skill needed, and it's going to show us what this will look like. So we'll click insert, and there it appears on our page. We can change the size of that box, move it around to the middle if we want to do that, and we can keep adding content or blocks of content. So you can see they're largely fillable, so I could have that there. I might have links to a discussion component or a Google Jamboard or anything like that. I can add text boxes, engage phase perhaps. I just really like Google Sites. I can add any of these things. So I can include social links, although I don't know how much you'll use that. You might include map components, but essentially because the hyperlink option exists, the ability to just insert hyperlinks does exist. You can in fact link in anything you'd like, although it preferences the Google Suite. So if you go put a button in, for example, you could go option 1 for your assessment, and then you could link that to anywhere you want on the internet. We'll just put that there. That's not really going to work. I'll just grab the YouTube link for that. And now I've got a lovely button that appears here with option 1 that will actually interact. So you can design pages like this, but you can actually work out how many pages you have. So you can create a bit of a theme here. So you might, for example, add you've got your home page, you have to have this, but you might go plus and go, I want a new page. It's going to be called Engage Activity 1, or it could be based on questions, whatever I like. And then I can edit that page and do what I'd like with it. I can change its properties. It's very simple, straightforward stuff. I can hide it if I want to, but it basically functions like anything else here, where I can now add content by the insert button. So there are little templates to look at here as well. You can of course use themes, and there are some pretty nice simple ones here for you. You think you can find import themes if you want to. There's probably more you can download, but you can change the themes, fiddle around with the font, text and stuff like that as well. It's all editable. So if you click on something, the little icons will appear and give you those options to realign text and stuff like that, but try to be consistent in how you present it. It'll also let you preview how it will look in like when it's on the website, on a phone, or on a tablet or a phone. So it's got quite some nice testing features there. If you want to add, you can share it with others this way. So you can bring collaborators in, but if you do want to have it ready for the assessment task, you just hit the publish button and then choose a web address. It will be a Google site view, and you might things will be taken up, right? So you can see this one is apparently free, obviously, and I could publish that way and then grab that link and put that in my assessment task. Every time you make changes, you'll just have to republish it so it gets saved basically, but it's worth playing around with. It's probably become my favorite. I've even done research work with this in the past. I've done something similar where I created my own research page in a very basic way. I had an intro video. I explained what the research was. You could click on the different tabs and it would tell you a bit about the team and so on and so forth. So it's a pretty nice little tool there, I would say. The next one we have up here is Canva, which is a nice little image creator. So we've had a bit of a website. You might want to create or have students work to create an image for a form of assessment. So this could be something you create a model of and pop in in your digital learning resource, but guide students towards creating it themselves. It's pretty much a straight up and down design tool, really. It's got lots of freemium stuff. You can see the different types of things you can create here. I mean, we might play around with a presentation or a video. We'll see what it allows us to do, basically, because they're always changing the freemium components. You can see it's mostly gauged towards things like business and stuff like that, but you can bring in templates. Essentially, you can drop and drag things. It lets you add new slides, say how long they go for. I think it adds animations and stuff, but you can see from the column here, you can add, you can search for elements on their site, or you can find images from elsewhere and actually upload them. So you can draw, you can upload stuff from your computer. You can see this is one from 2016 I uploaded. There you go. Been doing this for a wee while. So, you can add your own images and personalize it that way, add text, draw, do things like that, and you can share it, download it. I'd probably just recommend downloading it, to be honest. Don't pay for anything is my recommendation. And there are better things for videos and stuff like this as well. But this is just another image creating tool that you could explore and see if it's worth incorporating, because I think the sharing is interesting. You can create a link for the public view, for example. And yeah, we'll create that link. And now it's copied there. I don't know if it has the embed feature. It'd be cool if it did. Probably does. Yeah, it has the embed feature as well. So we can do the same thing. We can continue making an absolute monstrosity of our terrible, terrible website if we want to. And just keep hitting the embed feature and embedding random bits of junk to our site here. I don't know if this will work actually. No, it doesn't work. I haven't published it. That would be why. But we'll go back for now. So we'll leave that. Another one that we have is PictoChart, which does similar things. It gets 5 free ones, and you can see I've been playing around with them for a while here. Yeah, fine. So if I just delete this one, it's a more straightforward tool, so I might just delete this one. It's more just for creating images and infographics, which is quite helpful. We could imagine that being of quite good use in consolidating a scientific investigation, for example. So we just pick what we would like to create. I mean, I think have a look and see what might suit you in your lesson and resource. But I think an infographics are always a good one. There are lots of templates you can edit and change. I mean, we might just have a look at a blank. You can use a template. There's no problem with that. And then you can do the same sort of thing here where you incorporate different features, different images. Hang on, maybe later. Whether I want to include... Hang on, go away. I don't want this. Go away. Can include some basic shapes. It's trying to give me more stuff here because I haven't been on in a while. So you can add those, bring in some design components as well. Things like lists, timelines could be a really useful tool if there's something like this around. You could play with timelines. So there's some really nice tools in here for representing data with different types of columns, and they do actually link with Google Sheets as well. So there's some really clear links to mathematics, creative arts and things like that here if you want to fully develop them. The technology itself, of course, doesn't do that. It depends how you use it and position it as the educator. But I think there's some good utility in this potentially with things like YouTube videos being incorporated. So you can obviously download that and create your own version of it. You can share it like you can with anything else. But you would have to make it public on the web, and then you could share it with the embed code or a direct link. So you can either grab the direct link, but we are making terrible... let's copy that code. We're just going to continue destroying this site by adding more and more terrible embed things, because I haven't really thought any of this through, because it's just for technical proficiency. Let's see if this one works. Yeah, so we can actually see, you can, if I edited that properly, that would appear nicely on my site, which is quite cool. The next one we have is PowerToon, which is a video designing tool. Look, I wish I had the talent for it. My wife does, I don't. But it's really simple animation. It's not particularly flashy. There could be some value to you in this. I might just use this one that I've edited a while back, actually. I'll probably stop creating fresh ones. And I'll just go edit in the studio for now. So you can see here, I've got a really basic one. You basically add them like PowerPoints, but you have a timeline down here where you can add different features. So you can see here, I've added a picture of a farmhouse you know, with this idea that maybe I was introducing a farm scenario or something. So I can then bring in different elements. So I could bring in props, for example. I'll bring in an emoji, and I'm going to make it a little happy one. So I can bring this happy emoji in. When I click on the emoji, I can bring this up and decide what it does. So if I right click that, I can move to front. I can add effects. I can have it appear at different stages. So we can see here when I press it, the emoji kind of comes and stays. But if I was editing this, I could make the emoji disappear as well at a different point. So I could, can I have it move? I'd like to have it move. Anyway, you can add animations and things like this as well, characters, audio. So you can bring in your own audio recordings and things as well, which is quite cool, with your microphone that you would use for any Zoom meeting. So some of that sort of stuff. There are tutorials. I'd probably recommend using those, but you can change all of this sort of stuff and then, of course, export it through a share link, although I'd be tempted to, you can upload it to your YouTube channel as well, which is kind of cool, but you know, it'll come with all their ads, but you know, that's life. We're using freemium stuff. The next one is Weebly, which is basically the same, more or less, as Google Sites to me. So I'll show you one I created, I've been fiddling around with for years, basically. Where you can see I've actually been bringing in stuff from, my Padlet got deleted, fair enough, where people were kind of adding in drawing issues and pre-tests and stuff like that. It comes with nice templates. It's probably a bit more polished than something like, it's probably a bit more polished than something like Google Sites, but I think that's okay. All you have to do is make sure you don't press the upgrade button when you create it. So essentially the way Weebly works is, it's the same sort of feature. You can change your pages up the top here. So same sort of deal where you can add pages with the plus icon, and you can choose to have something appear as a drop-down list if you change, just hit those three dots and move it in or out. So now if I move this to the top level, it now just appears in the top line here. But for example, if I said group tasks and I had group 1, 2, 3, 4, I could have it appear as a drop-down by having it nest underneath like that. Okay, so when I click my site, I then move to build on the top row here, and then I have all my features that I can add. Some of them are pay to play, of course, but you've got all the cool ones like embed code, insert links, insert buttons, you name it. You can basically add it in and do some of those interesting sorts of things here. When you finish with it, each time just hit the publish button and just grab the free one. It'll just appear here and you can use that. So it'll be a Weebly site, that's fine. We don't need you to pay for one, but it functions in the same sort of way as Google Sites, which I think is quite useful as a hub. One that I quite like for interactivity and to support something like Google Sites or Weebly is Padlet. And you can see I've got quite a lot of them. I've had these for many, many years now. And they all, I guess, sort of function in different ways. I might just get rid of one that hasn't really been used in a long time, probably. Yeah, let's just get rid of this one. I just always like to delete one if I add one. So let's just move one to trash and create a fresh one, because these are really lovely interactive tools that I think are extremely helpful. So I might go, for example, make Padlet, and I have lots of different options here. I'll probably just pick just like a blank canvas. I'm pretty basic. And you have some options here. So the timeline is more an organisation of things in sequence. So if you're brainstorming the sequence of something, I can have a grid feature, a wall. I think a wall is generally pretty safe, and you can link it into shelves. We'll call this one test again because I'm very exciting. So when we link that in, you can see the background's not real crash hot. I can go and change that if I want to. Hang on, can I change this? I do want to change it actually. It's not very good looking. No, it's fine. So when I have my Padlet, I can basically add to the Padlet. So I click on the plus button and I have a bunch of things that I can do. I can put a video into it. I can add more attachments. I can draw. I can upload a document. You can see all the options by hitting the dots. So I can add a poll. I can add things to my Google Drive. I can't draw, which is quite interesting. I don't know what that is. What do you want to draw? I don't know. Science. Don't know what this does. Oh, it's added AI to draw the thing that I want. That's cool. Oh, there you go. So it's added actually embedded AI to give me brainstorming stuff. That's really interesting. So I can pop this in here and upload and draw to it as well. So if I click the draw icon, I can go and draw stuff. So you could imagine making this a catered world chart or something like this. And when I'm finished with what I'm drawing, I add publish. So you could add tasks. When it sits here, I have some different options. I can open the post. We can have students actually talk about it, add a post afterwards if I want to. So if people are connecting ideas through round table, we can do some of that sort of stuff. There are some sharing options as well. So if I want to share this, I've actually got some really interesting options here. I can hit a get QR code option. So I could now grab this by using the snipping tool. And if you use the snipping tool, just type it into your taskbar. There's a new version of it. Find the snipping tool, right click, pin to taskbar, and then just every time you want to grab something, click the scissors. Go new, grab, and now I can save that and add that to my website or print it out or laminate it or whatever I'd like. You can do that with pretty much any website too now. So if I want, for example, any site, could be the Bureau of Meteorology, right click, anything, any website, create QR code, and it will generate for you and you can download it. So that's really helpful if you want to create something that's more that interacts more with the environment. Closing that now though, we can change some of the privacy options as well. So people who come to this can be a writer if we'd like, so they can add things but can't delete them, which is quite helpful. We can make this a public or secret Padlet. We'd probably go secret. I think that's the best one. We have our sharing links and our exporting links as well if you want to collect the data. Yeah, so basically this is completely interactive. It works well with tablets. This could be where they add videos of something, for example, through that QR code feature. They could just scan it with the camera app and show a video of something. But they have all these great interactable options like putting in GIF images, you could put in a poll or something like that as well with multiple choices. So I think there's some really great utility. And of course, if you hit the share button, we can embed it as well. So I could hit the embed link here and grab my embed option, and I can just keep adding that to my horrendous page up here. Embed code, and then we will see my terrible Padlet appear. But then people, when it's published, they can add that to the Padlet through my website. So that's quite useful. If you want to create videos like I'm doing now, what I'm using is something called Open Broadcast software. It's completely free, and you just point, click, and talk basically. And you can add your own face if you want to. I don't, because I don't think it adds anything. But Screen Power is another option as well, where basically it'll create a big kind of recording zone, and you press pause and stop, and just record the voice to make little videos if you want to make instructional videos or have your own face, or introduce something in some way. Of course, you can use your phone if you want to create a real life one, like a scenario starter or an introduction to your big problem, but that's quite a good one. I've got another one here. Sorry, that one probably appears a bit jarring because I had to just log that one in properly, but Tinkercad actually allows you to create for free 3D images. So it's actually the major 3D printing, 3D imaging tool that's available in schools, and CAD stands for Computer Assisted Design. So it's designed for education, so you can in fact create classes and do some co-teaching work here as well. But we might just start and have a look at an example here. So if I go to Tinker, you can actually it's now got embedded circuits and code type stuff, but we'll just have a look at 3D design here. So we're just going to start tinkering and see what we can do here. You don't necessarily have to do 3D printing. It's not going to be available to all of us. Let me see if I can get into this. Create a new class. I don't want to create a class, I want to create a collection. And we're going to create a 3D design. So hopefully this loads. Apologies for the slowness of my internet, but essentially you get this lovely little 3D plane to operate within. So if you right click that, you can go and see what's happening. It will show you where the front is. You can manipulate that as well. But this is a great way to take the design process into another level if they have already started drawing and sketching ideas. And there's really robust links to mathematics here with some of the precise things available to us. So we have lists of shapes that we can play around with. So there are basic shapes that we can add here. So let's just grab this one, We can see that's firmly planted here. We can see its the size, the radius, the width, length, height, that sort of stuff. So we can see how it's positioned. So we could maybe plan a town or something if we wanted to. We can zoom in and change how these things look. We can move them up and down, and it gives us a bit of information about how far away it is. So there's some good precision, good mathematics links here. We can change the length of the grid if we want to. We can, of course, add rulers and things like that if we want to do some checking of that. There are more complex shapes as well, and I think AI is being incorporated into this. So you can bring things like electronics into it. So I could, for example, bring in some circuits and things like that, which is pretty cool, I think. A bit of a computer, pretty screen. There you go, a bit meta. And we can, of course, do shape generation tools as well, which I haven't spent a lot of time on, but we'll give this a go. Let's grab this one. So you can pop that in. And it sort of spins around and does some stuff. So there's heaps of potential uses in terms of design here, I think. I think you can do. Can you do your own shapes with this as well? I mean, that'd be cool if you could. Yes, you can. So you can kind of create your own things here. If I want to create something, but I won't do that now. It also links to Minecraft, so you can kind of create the Minecraft version of your thing as well, and then you can export them. And download them as like Minecraft components or other things as well. So there's some use to this. Obviously, you can look up guides and things like this, and they can just be saved. And this is all free. The next one I think is perhaps the most important, which is the AlternativeTo site. Because as you probably can guess, things start, they get lost behind paywalls, they change names, they become worse, artificial intelligence changes things. So this website, AlternativeTo, lets you type in different types of technology and see how well they fit within what you're doing. Sorry, my son came in there. But this lets you check out some of the different tools. So you might, for example, say, oh, what's Tinkercad about? Are there any other 3D printing type things? So I can go, okay, Tinkercad, and I can have a look at this, and it will tell me some different components here. So it tells me a bit about Tinkercad. It says it is computer-assisted design and it's free for proprietary, not commercial use, which is us. You also have things like Blender, which is a bit more complicated. That's more about 3D sculpting and animation. FreeCAD, which is another one for this sort of work as well. So you can see alternatives that you might use at different points and what they're capable of doing. You know, we could throw in something like ChatGPT. And they already have 199 different things to use here. ChatGPT is, of course, the original for AI use, but you've got things like Google Gemini emerging, which helps with writing, planning, and these sorts of things as well. So it's got spell checking, text to speech, light preview. So that's something that we should probably be looking at ourselves as well. It can do coding for you, Hugging Chat. We can see educational variants of these tools. So I'd probably bookmark this, to be honest. I think it's a great website. It's what keeps me up to date when I need to stay up to date on these sorts of things. There is another publication that I think is really interesting, which is I guess the Bauer typography. I think it's the Bauer-Torrington typography now, which is essentially a typography of different technologies serving different purposes. So you can see here it's got the different free learning technologies around and what they're actually capable of doing. So 3D modeling, data analysis tools, digital storytelling tools, etc., and it branches off into specific segments of that. So, you know, we could move from audio tools to audio creation, you know, like Audacity, which is what I use for audio comments, data analysis tools, survey design, infographics and stuff like this. If I like any of these and I think, oh, look, I'd really like to create a comic strip, I can actually click here and it will take me to the relevant section and give me some examples of different types of things. So that could be worth a download as well, because we can only really give you a taste of what's around in some of these areas. But let's move on for now, because I have been speaking for a while and I do apologise for going on for as long as I have. So the links are there if you want to see them. Some of them are probably less useful than others, but you can also create QR. There are some QR code websites, although the right-click option on websites for things like Google Chrome will do that as well. So creating QR codes could also be something to consider as well. A couple of other things to point to. The MIT courses are really cool. They're just worth sharing. I don't know if they don't really apply to EMS207 necessarily, but I think they're worth having in mind. That's the biotypography in the latest version. A few extra things I've made. You can check out some augmented or virtual reality stuff. There's some really cool things with Google Earth, for example, which created the latest flight simulator game, which is a bit spooky. There's some stuff here with the Wik editor, which lets you make games and do some different things as well. And it's free and open source. Haven't fully delved into that yet, but it could be worth having a look at if you are so interested. I've got a list there. It's a couple of years out of date now. I don't know how useful it is because I haven't had time to get back to it. But I guess the task for you is to consider how you might incorporate these digital technologies into your lesson plans and digital learning resource. So that was the point of this, to get you thinking about what they're capable of on a technical level, so that you can think about how they fit into your vision of good quality science teaching, which we've hopefully been helping you develop over the last how many months has it been? A month and a half, 2.5 months. Next thing I want to talk about briefly is the idea of STEM education, because it's quite prominent. It features heavily in national initiatives and research and funding. And it can sit in a bit of an odd spot in the primary curriculum, because science and technology sit together. Maths is, of course, separate. And there is often a question, when do these things come together and when do they stay apart? The answer is we don't really know. So I do think it's important to flag this with you. Really, what STEM is about, to my reading of it, and I have spent quite a bit of time doing some literature searching on this, is that it's more about the skills, the 21st century skills of cooperation, problem solving and those sorts of things. So it sort of represents the logical endpoint of many of these separate discipline areas. So you should still teach science content and technology skills and engineering principles where appropriate. It doesn't have a syllabus area of itself, and mathematics. And then we merge them together to create authentic learning experiences. That's what the literature shows. I've got some research coming out on that soon in the Australian context. So these are some of the areas that we'll be moving towards, and as future teachers, you'll be caught up in that in some way. So what we want to do is increase student STEM ability, engagement, participation, aspiration. So for you as primary educators, part of that goal is really to make sure that you are keeping the science trajectory for students going. That they go into your class, experience science, technology, mathematics, and think, yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed my time with Miss, Mrs. or Ms. So-and-so, Mr. Ms. Mrs. So-and-so, and I want to study this some more. Because once they fall out of that and they go, I effing hate this subject, it's very, very hard to get them back. We also want to improve teacher capacity and STEM teaching quality. Part of that is through subjects like this, and part of that's through professional development. And a lot of teachers want more professional development as well. And that'll be something that you engage with throughout your career. But my advice would be, if you can become the science or STEM person, I think that's a great contribution to make to your school, and you don't need to be science trained. You can be a primary teacher or a K-12 person. It's a lifelong ambition. So we want to facilitate partnerships and build a strong evidence base. And the evidence base is wobbly. It's really wobbly, analysing the quality of it. Just to give you a sense, we've got this National STEM Initiative 2016, which is still around. It's the major thing from the Education Council. But basically, this has become a national imperative for nearly 10 years now. I mean, we're on the back end of this in many ways. But I'll just highlight a few of the key features. As we said, we want to ensure all students finish school with strong foundational skills. And I like the emphasis on skills, disposition and problem solving, and that represents a further move away from just learning facts. So for where I sit and where many of us sit in education, this seems to be a good idea. It does also inspire them to take on more challenging STEM subjects. You can't control that in the primary space, but you can keep them in the pipeline, which is what we talk about. We've talked about some of those as well, but basically everyone has a role here in this particular process. So you can have a look at some of those if you want to get a sense of where these things are heading. There is, of course, also great support available for you from the NISA website, where they have tips, STEM sample units, which are more cross-curricular, if we're being quite honest. We dabbled in that a little bit in science, EMS207, but there are some good bits of information here. It's usually, at its core, project-based, authentic and collaborative. That's the holy pedagogical trinity in this space. It is across every good quality STEM program we see. So if you walk away from this subject with a good sense of collaboration, problem or project-based learning, and how to make it authentic to students, how to do that extra bit of work, how to bring in the community where appropriate, then we should be in a good place. So that will get you to where you need to go. The tips there on developing a unit, well, I mean, stop me if you've heard these before. Higher order and critical thinking, amend, control, develop, enhance. Okay, lots of assessment strategies, using assessment as an integral part of it. I mean, essentially, the themes in STEM are where we have been pushing you in EMS207. So I don't think there's too much need to go any further than that. And we'll skip that for now too. There are other documents in the PowerPoint, but I'm wary of making this lecture go for longer than it needs to. Moving along here further, I've shown you some of those. There are other initiatives around the joint as well, but look, the model that we recommend for students and students at any level, whether you're adults or children, is learn just in time rather than just in case. You can always figure it out when you need it, but learning something and then never thinking about it for 4 or 5 years will not do anything for you. We just want to build the awareness here and hopefully improve your dispositions and skills so that you can embrace the opportunities that come to you in your teaching career. I do want to talk a little bit about higher order thinking, because those verbs that I harp on about so much play into the next assessment task, and they're a great way to look at what we're actually achieving when we're in front of students in the classroom, in science and all the other KLAs as well. Okay, so let's go through some of the principles here. It's mostly a revision of Bloom's taxonomy here. So I think this table in particular is quite helpful in analysing a lesson plan or analysing your digital learning resource. When you go through an activity that you've included, be it a very small one or an extended one or a very complex one, have a look and ask yourself what the students are actually doing throughout that. You know, when they're answering questions, when they're completing a worksheet, when they're providing a work sample, when they're working together. Are they pointing, quoting, reading, recalling, all of which are useful building blocks, but we want them moving into higher order concepts, particularly as we get to the later phases of the 5 V's. We want things like comparison, criticism, determining, interpreting, judging. Justifying is a big one. Justifying a decision they've made, I think, is one worth considering, and supporting and testing as well. So have a look at those verbs. And in fact, they often consider, they will cue to things like graphic organisers as well, like subdividing into subcategories. Those sorts of things can be really helpful in how you frame your resource and your lessons as well. So as a general rule, we want to build up from the base, so we cannot create if we don't remember what we're meant to be doing. So they are sequential, and it would make sense over the course of a lesson or a unit to move from simpler to more complicated components in a developmental fashion. So there's the Bloom's Taxonomy 2023. Create is now at the top. It used to be evaluate. It's changed in recent years. The old version here is evaluation. And now there's sort of this acknowledgement that actually it's moved away into a verb structure as well to make it more applicable. And it's sort of acknowledged that synthesis is really a part of analysis, and that evaluate leads to creation. So that's the idea. And if you're using digital technology to get them to do something, to make something, to film a video, to share a pitch to something, to use Tinkercad in some way, you'll probably be heading towards what they need to. So those are some interesting resources to consider there as well. Their question starters are quite helpful because a big part of your role is including teacher background information, perhaps providing some question prompts that the teacher could read in a lesson plan, for example. You can have your basic kind of questions, the who, what, where, why, when and how stuff we all remember probably from year 1, I think it was. And then there are some nice principles here where we think of application. So this is quite good for algorithmic or computational thinking. How is this an example of that? How do these things relate? Do you know of another example or instance of this? So I would consider using these in the design process, and we can see all the way up there as well into, prioritise these elements according to this principle or something. Which of these is the most important? And the why questions become quite prevalent there Why do you think this? Can you justify that choice or belief is important there. And of course, with the solo taxonomy, nice visual summary here. Pre-structural means that the student has not grasped the idea and has no relevant understanding of it. Unistructural is surface knowledge or loose ideas. So, if we think of the idea of deep versus shallow learning, this is often shallow learning where we have some understanding of facts, but they don't relate to each other. There's no ability to restate and reapply the knowledge. So a student may have one or more relevant ideas. Then we have a relational understanding of how separate ideas relate together to create a grander whole. And then the abstract level is where they can take that idea and apply it. A bit like we saw it a week or two ago with answering what-if questions about the rotation of the Earth. This all ties into pedagogical content knowledge. Some of this may bore you, some of it may excite you, but it is all in service of, continue to develop these PCK elements that really are at the heart of teachers' professional decision-making, beliefs about knowledge and purpose, beliefs about knowledge of content, knowledge of alternative conceptions or current conceptions, curricular knowledge, instructional strategies, context, which we can't really go into more than just the Australian context or New South Wales context, and of course the wider socio-political context. These things come together in interesting ways in the classroom. The idea here is that technology is a part of this. Depends how you feel about it though. To be quite honest, I personally am of the view that technology is really just a pedagogical element to me. It does become a content aspect if we're studying digital technologies, but I don't know if it's distinct enough to be separate. I don't think technology should be sitting on a mantle above pedagogy or in line with content and pedagogy might be a better way to frame it. See what you think. It is a hugely developed area of research. That's my own personal view. But anyway, thank you for listening if you've made it this far. The weekly preparation for tutorials this week will involve looking at Web 2.0 tools. But if you've watched the lecture, if you've made it this far, perhaps you will just be able to start and fiddle around with them. Complete any tasks that are relevant to your specific tutorial group on your campus. Bring your technology, of course, to class, laptops or tablets. Brainstorm ways of linking your current work to the digital learning strand of the syllabus. And bring a draft of your digital learning resource with at least one supplementary digital media element. So it could be a Padlet, they've created a worksheet, a video, something that goes, takes it beyond just a hub. So your hub and an element contained within it. Even if you've got nothing, bring something. It could just be dot points or notes or ideas. Anything you bring will be valuable because this is of course ungraded. And I've seen students come in with essentially loose ideas, get a bit of feedback, get a bit of confidence, and then turn in really high quality pieces of work. So it's an open environment. It's not there for judgment. It's there for support. But anyway, that's it from me. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week.